The Honourable David O'Connor.
Oh, no options, Mr Chairman. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. 20 years in 1 week, Mr Chairman. Thank you. Can I just say that we have to welcome in this House the major amendment or the replacement of a 1992 piece of legislation. And that's what we're doing here. And the Minister was probably still in nappies when this was passed in 92, I'd suggest, perhaps. And so it is important that he take note and understand what was the environment when the Mines Rescue Trust or the legislation was passed in 92. It was an environment where the government was determined to suppress grassroots worker representation across the board. And as we have seen, of course, in the Health and Safety Act, totally inappropriate for the mine health and safety regime, and indeed the Mines Rescue Act, in spite of it providing support for the organisation through the years, when the heat really came on, when the Act needed to be tested, it failed. And what we're doing here is putting in place the proper provisions, as recommended by the Royal Commission, to give both authority and responsibility to the Mines Rescue Organisation. I was fortunate enough to be invited along to the opening of their new facility, which indeed is referred to in the legislation. So it is the base for the Mines Rescue Trust. It has been opened at Rapahoe, just north of Runanga, and will form a very well-resourced base for mines and emergency rescue training for not only underground miners but tunnellers and people who up and down the country are putting themselves into high-risk situations. Can I follow on from my colleague, Mr Little, who referred to perhaps one of the most frustrating things that occurred in the aftermath of the Pike River, the initial explosion, and that was the frustration of miners themselves who volunteer to be part of the Mines Rescue Organisation, who train, who pride themselves with having the highest levels of skills and knowledge in underground mining and rescue conditions. And they were blocked from participating in any kind of rescue by what they saw were a bunch of shiny bums sitting up here in Wellington. People sitting in here in Wellington in their little offices making decisions about what was best for the minute-by-minute operations that were occurring at the Pike River mine. And that frustration should never be allowed to be repeated. Never. The hesitation, the ignorance, the bad decision-making that occurred here in Wellington, sometimes for political reasons, but for whatever reasons they were wrong, that blocked the wisdom, the experience and the commitment of those people on the ground. Now, I don't know whether it was safe or unsafe to try any re-entry or take any action. It's not for me to make the judgment. But the fact that those people involved in the mines rescue operation were blocked from any real participation was a frustration that I'm sure will be spelled out in the book that's just been launched. I've started to read, but I haven't had time to get through there. But I know that it was a constant frustration. I did smile, however, Mr Chairman, when the, of course, massive media that arrived in Greymouth and wanted half-daily updates, I guess, from those people who were leading the rescue at the time. And people knew of Trevor Watts and Trevor and Miles, Cutbush and Glenn down there. They are, I guess, the heart and soul of Mines Rescue. They knew that Trevor was involved, or he was asked for opinions, and of course there became the obvious need for someone who knew about the situation to probably front the media. And by this time there were a whole lot of flash uniforms, there were a whole lot of flash politicians, there were a whole lot of flash people fronting the media, and Trevor was the one who had to do it. Mr. Chairman, and there was some trepidation and uncertainty about how it would happen. And in true, Mr. Chairman,
Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In true West Coast style, and I was so proud to be a West Coaster on that day, he fronted what were a very hungry pack of media, and he fronted and looked straight down the camera and told them exactly as it was. No highfalutin terms or ideas or anything. He just told them as it was. And that is the way that Mines Rescue operates. They're not there for the glory. They're there to support their mates who work day to day in a risky environment and who from time to time will need help, hopefully never again at the level that was needed in Pike River, Mr. Chairman. But there are incidents that occur. These people train to get their mates out. And I trust them over any shiny bum sitting in Wellington. I trust them to make the judgment on what is the right thing to do in a mine incident. And what we have to do, there's one of them sitting over there, classic. Can I say that these people need the respect? This piece of legislation indeed gives them autonomy, and the authority to get on and do what they need best, and that is to rescue people, to help people who are in need, and to train people so that they have the skills to work in this environment. This is a good piece of this bill, Mr. Chairman, and I welcome the government's commitment to implement one of the recommendations of the Pike River Royal Commission, and that's to upgrade the authority of the Mines Rescue Trust and organisation.
Jamie Lee Ross.
Question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we move to the vote on Part 3. First, we have Andrew Little's amendment to the amendment inserting new section 54B as set out on SOP number 374. Question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The noes have it. So party votes called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
33 in favour.
Green Party.
11 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United
1
Future.
opposed.
Brendan Horan.
1 vote in favour.
Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 53, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We now have the Minister's amendments as amended set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Part 3 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. We now move to the schedule. Schedule 1. First, we have the Minister's amendments as set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we move to Schedule 2. First, we have the Minister's amendments as set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 2 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we move to Schedule 3. The question is that Schedule 3 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. We now move to Schedule 4. First, we have the Minister's amendments as set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 4 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we now move to the clauses, and the question is that clauses 1 and 2 stand part. First, we have the Minister's amendment to Clause 1 as set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Clause 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. We now move to Clause 2. First, we have the Minister's amendment to Clause 2 as set out on SOP number 374. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Clause 2 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The Honourable Simon Bridges.
I move SOP 375, dividing the bill.
The question is that the SOP dividing the bill be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I will report this bill with amendment presently. Members, the committee now comes to the Social Housing Reform, Housing Restructuring and Tenancy Matters Amendment Bill. The question is that Part 1 stand part. I call Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.